Hey guys, Matt Allen, Tim Little, welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today we're talking lipless crankbaits. We are going to talk everything lipless crank. We're going to take two very different approaches to this. Tim is going to take that refined bottom fishing method of fishing a lipless. I'm going to talk more about that burning up bank, covering water. We're going to talk about the different styles of baits that work best for each, give you some bait recommendations. Now, in the past, we've done a ton of lipless video. We've done videos on different retrieves, different ways of fishing them, recommendations on baits, going out and catching fish on them. Tim stuck a giant on camera last fall on a lipless. Another monster this spring, actually.
Almost 11.
Almost 11 pounds on one this spring. All sorts of different videos that we've done before, but we've never really gone in depth on the specific baits, on the widespread, the entire category, and explained why different baits fit different niches. So we're going to jump into that, and we want you to understand when we start, because we like to keep things simple. There is a simple approach to lipless fishing. You can buy one rod, one bait, and you are going to catch fish. This is one of those categories, though, where you could also buy 15 rods and 5,000 baits, and you're going to catch a ton of fish, bigger fish. Now, most people are going to land somewhere in the middle, right? You're going to get a little bit wider range of gear, some rods to really make it work, and you can find extraordinary success with the lipless. But we're going to show you the range, and you can figure out where you want to be in there. You want to start off?
Sure. Lipless crankbaits have cost me a lot of money in the last couple of years. I went out and bought just about every bait on the market. We're going to talk. We got, 10, 12, 15 different baits lined up to talk to you guys about today. You know, if you're a guy that just grabs a bait off of your console and ties it on and goes out and casts, this video is probably not for you. But if you're a guy that has 10 or 15, 20 different colors of worms because of the different lakes you're fishing or the different area you're fishing, you're that analytical about it, this is going to be the video for you. Lipless crankbaits. We've probably put more big fish in the boat in the last couple of years on lipless crankbaits than probably all other techniques combined, besides maybe the Alabama rig.
Yeah.
Me personally, I have caught most of my double digits here on Clear Lake on a lipless crank. And we spent a lot of time trying to perfect this technique. And what we've learned is there's so many different baits on the market. There's different weights, there's different sizes, there's different sounds, there's different falls, there's different actions. It's
crazy.
It is.
And we don't want to overwhelm you. So we know that some of you guys, this is too much. And know that if you go down into the video description, we will link you the best rod,
a starter kit,
the most all-around bait, right? Just the simple, and you will catch fish. But if you want to commit to a unique method of fishing where you can go as far down the rabbit hole as you want to go, we're going to help you with that too. So we're going to jump into this. Let's do it.
Yeah, one of the reasons I really like throwing a lipless crankbait, especially in the fall time, you've heard Matt and I talk about it in the past in other videos. You can cover a lot of water. You're looking for these active fish. You know, the water's cooling down. These fish are schooling up bait, and you're searching. You're covering a lot of water to find active fish. With a heavy lipless crankbait, you can burn it, like Matt's going to talk about. You can hop it. You can find isolated grass patches. You can find those deepest grass patches that are still alive, that last bit of structure that these fish are going to be hiding in. Diving into it, one of my favorite lipless crankbaits that I have the absolute most confidence in is going to be the Lucky Craft, the LV500. Yeah. This is a bait that has won a lot of money.
Yeah,
a lot of money out here on the West Coast. They come in some great colors. It's a 3/4 ounce bait, and why I like the LV500, it's a reaction bite. When you get that heavy bait and you're hopping it, you know, we've done videos in the past about how we make these baits. How we make fish react to these baits, how we hop them, how we fish them. I'll put a link up here to a video I think you did last year on lipless crankbait retrieves. But with the LV500, it's a 3/4 ounce bait, so when you're hopping it, it falls. You're triggering those fish. You're triggering the just how they're wired, right? You're getting that reactive bite. Same thing with a square bill. As that bait hops by them, it's making that rattling sound. They're just coming up and eat it. That 3/4 ounce for me is key. Now you guys in the south, you guys probably want to throw a little bit lighter bait, you know, something that maybe like the Strike King, the Red Eye Shad. That's another great bait. It's just a little bit lighter. It is available in a heavier bait, but it's a lot bigger profile. But that, for some reason, that is the bait on the East Coast that people catch a lot of big fish on. I don't know if it's just they haven't put time into the other baits, the other ones on the market, but it's a fish catcher. So the LV500, we're not going to talk about too much about upgrading hooks or anything like that.
We've done that. You know what? Yeah. We'll just link back to that because it is, I mean, we'll just say it's critical. You have to upgrade your hooks. You have to upgrade your split rings. There's some very important things you need to do. We will link to videos that explain all that. And in the video description, if you don't want to go watch another video, we'll just give you the links to the hooks and you can get them not knowing why you're getting them. But it's, I mean, if you're throwing a round bend hook on a lipless, you are shooting yourself in the foot. It's a mess. You should not be doing that. But we won't explain why right now. We won't drag this out to a 45-minute seminar.
So getting back to how I fish these, I like to, I guess, finesse fish them. Yeah. I'm using braid to floor leader. All you guys in these last videos, you guys are always asking what knot we tie to our braid to mono, braid to floor leader. Matt, what knot do we tie?
We tie a 9-loop blood knot. It's a little bit of a modified blood knot. We do have 2 videos floating around YouTube on how to tie it. If you search TacticalBassin knots, they'll come up. But it's a modified blood knot, and it's dying.
Yeah, in the last few videos, we probably had, I don't know, 50 comments asking what knot we tie, and like he said, we've done videos in the past. So there it is. You guys can search our video list for that and find that. But when I'm fishing the LV500, again, I'm finesse fishing it. I use my electronics. I'm doing side imaging. I'm looking for that offshore structure, that deeper stuff, and then I pick it apart with this bait right here. This is a great bait to find that grass. I'm doing little tiny hops. I want that bait just to flutter just 3 or 4 times, just enough to make those rattles.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I want you guys to understand what Tim is telling you, because when we said lipless, everybody just got this vision in their head of burning bank. He's literally jig fishing with a lipless. He's not winding on it. This is literally like hopping bottom. You should be jig, Texas rig, lipless. You are not fast moving. They are literally picking a hard bait up off the bottom, and it works. I just want to make that clear so when he's talking, you have a picture of what he's telling you.
Yeah, I'm not casting and reeling. I'm casting out there, I'm letting it hit bottom, and I'm, you know, just almost, I'm not shooting like a drop shot, but just starting that flutter, get 3 or 4 flutters in there and let it fall, and they will, they hammer it. So I'm finesse fishing it. Like I said, I like the LV because it is that heavier bait. It falls faster. I have better bottom contact with it. I can feel what's going on. Another great bait is the Lucky Craft. This is the LVR. This is the 15. It's the bigger profile, but a completely different sound. And that's a key thing when we're talking lipless. All of these baits have different sounds. Some of them are silent. You got the Demiki trimmer. That is a silent lipless crankbait. Yeah, that's this guy right here. This one actually has rattles, but it does come in a silent. The Red Eye Shad. So getting back to that one comes in rattles, it comes in silent, and it comes in the 2-tap. So if you are fishing pressured fish, it's very important to be different from all the other guys crossing your lines, right? You want to be throwing something that doesn't sound identical to the other 10 or 12 or 15 baits that are hitting the water next to these guys. And you gotta be pretty specific with colors. Again, I like to keep it simple. I will throw kind of a clear color, a ghost minnow, or this is a kind of a ghost bluegill color. I will throw a shad pattern, something that you want to match the hatch, right? I will throw chartreuse or some kind of bright color in murky water, and I will throw a craw pattern if that is what the fish are targeting on. If they're eating crawfish, crayfish, crawdads, whatever you guys want to call them in your lake, you can get by with a Delta craw or what is this? This is this Waken or is it Aurora? Anyways, we'll link all that stuff down below.
We'll link it.
There's so many cool colors that we'll be able be specifically fished on your lakes. I don't know if I missed anything.
Can I jump in with you
Yeah,
there?
definitely.
You didn't miss. You didn't at all. Tim's telling you an awesome approach because it's so detail oriented, but it's also simple. If you work those 4 colors, you can fine tune. And I want to be clear, he didn't just dream that up. So no BS. How many colors of LV do you think you actually own? Flat out.
Of LV?
Yeah. Just of LV 500.
15 to 20 probably.
Yeah. In one bait. 15 to 20 colors. And it's not a cheap bait.
And we're not sponsored by Lucky Craft. This is us spending our money.
This is literally our wallet shrinking. But it was the only way to fine tune a pattern is to do it. That's the only way. You can, well, until you can watch this video. That would have been nice.
Real quickly, I want to, lately you guys have been asking for the story behind that 8-pack picture, that epic 8-pack picture of
that rolls at the end of our videos.
That came primarily on this bait right here. So when we're saying we've stuck giants on it, we have stuck toads on it, and that story's coming. We'll eventually tell that story.
We'll tell that one.
But anyways, I have fine-tuned it. I spent a lot of money trying baits. And there's a lot of baits on the market that work. You know, Matt's going to get into some of these baits right here. This is a $1.99 lipless that crushes. So you don't have to be rich. You don't have to go out and break the bank. We are going to tell you the baits that work for us because we've tried most of them, maybe all of them. But there are different price point baits that will work for everybody.
That's right. You can whack them on a $2.99 bait. You can whack them on a $20 bait. But again, what I was saying is just when Tim's telling you that 4-color approach, it works. We own a lot of colors, and we've discovered that that's really what you need. If you've got those 4, you'll get 95% of the bites. Now, my approach is a little different. My approach is, now, I should say, we do the exact same thing, but there's a whole nother spectrum of lipless fishing, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And that's that more generic, that covering water, catching reaction fish, right? Just burning those baits, stop and go, but covering water, not that jig fishing. Because there's a time and a place for both. When you are just covering water, you want a very different style of bait. Depending on depth of the lake, sometimes you still want a heavy bait. Sometimes you want a 3/4, so you're staying in the strike zone. You're down near bottom. But a lot of times, our shallow water fisheries, you've got to fish the lightest baits. You've got to stay right on the top of that grass, just catching, or just above that grass to be effective. A place that stands out in my mind is the California Delta. I lived there for years and years and years. And on the Delta, I would struggle with that LV 500. Hands down, one of our favorite lipless baits for all-around fishing. But on the Delta, it would drive me nuts because it was heavy. And I discovered that those cheap, those inexpensive, your literal rattle trap, the actual rattle trap, and then this guy, the Cordell Spot. We're talking like Walmart dollar bin almost. This bait, the Spot, I don't even know how I stumbled on it. Oh, yes, I do. Well, not this specific one. My first Spot I pulled out of a bank of tules. Somebody had just broken one off above waterline. Like, it was such a cheap bait, they didn't even care. They just broke it off. I scooped that thing up. Somehow, at some point in the future, I fished with it. Oh my gosh, the thing murdered. It is one of the least expensive baits on the market. Both of these are. And they are dynamite. But if you need a bait to just burn shallow, just cover water, cover a ton of water, I don't know, man. That Cotton Cordell Spot is inexpensive. Now, it comes with, I mean, I don't want to bash them, but it comes with garbage hardware. You're taking the hooks off, you're taking the split rings off, you're putting new gear on it.
A lot of these baits.
A lot of them do. So it's going to turn into a $5 or $6 bait when you're done. But it's an inexpensive bait, but I'm just telling you from experience, it gets it done. Both of those do.
Yeah, I like the LV because I fish primarily deeper water. You know, you can fish that 20, 30 feet if you want, but you bank fishermen, you pond fishermen, you're going to want to stick with the lighter bait. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare fishing through the grass.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Some more baits that stand out. That Demiki Tremor, Tim touched on it, comes in both a silent and a rattle. Where silent baits tend to come into play is, at least in my mind, is where there's a lot of fishing pressure. Where a lot of guys are throwing a lipless, fish are getting used to that loud sound. Maybe they're not reacting to it like they used to. You can go to a silent bait, you can get those fish to bite, and sometimes you can get bigger fish to bite. But that seems to be where that stands out for me, is if you're fishing where it's pressured, a silent bait may be a direction you want to go. The Ruckus is another one. This is a hard bait for me to explain. This is a river to sea bait. And I actually got to fish with a Ruckus right before they hit the market. They had done their last run of baits, and they sent them out to a bunch of people, and I just happened to see one of the guys that grabbed one out of his boat. And I threw that Ruckus, and he asked me what I thought, and on my first cast, it was the strangest feeling lipless I had ever thrown. I don't know how to explain it. It's not like any other lipless. It has like a wide wobble. It doesn't have that tight lipless feel about it. It had a weird wobble. And about halfway through the first cast, as I was telling him I didn't like it, I caught a fish. And then I caught a fish on the third cast, the fourth cast. On the fifth cast, I told him, I don't know what the deal is with this bait, but I think you should just put it out there because it clearly works. It's a unique bait. It has a different feel. It almost just kicks wider than most lipless, but it's different. And Tim touched on different. If you're on a fishery where a lot of guys are doing something, be the guy that's different. And then go into those, going up in price a little bit. With anything, it depends on how far down that rabbit hole you want to go. You can fine tune it. So a couple other baits. The Raid Level Vibe, little tiny bait that I started playing with last fall. Really, really light, falls slow. It's small, compared to, say, there's next to a mega bass. It's a little tiny bait, little tiny hooks, but it's just different. You can match the hatch. If you're on Clear Lake, sometimes we get a little tiny bait fish. It's called a silver side, but it's almost like a little pin minnow, and you can replicate that perfectly. And then again, that mega bass, pulling that back up, comes in a couple sizes. Mega bass colors are awesome. Now you're paying for it, of course, but they offer their baits in, again, silent and rattle. Although I will say the silent baits, they're not actually silent. They're more like a soft one knocker, but they're deadly. I've done particularly well with the mega basses on a burn and kill. Now Tim's talking, jig fishing bottom. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a burn, stall, burn, stall, burn, stall. And right when you stall it out and it starts to tank to bottom, they're on it. It's just that changing cadence. I don't know what it is about that specific bait, but just the way it falls after the stall, that's when I catch fish on that one. It's a killer.
I'm going to let Matt talk about, this is the Evergreen Lipless Crank. I actually bought this because he started crushing fish on it. So one thing I noticed with this bait, when it sits on the bottom, it actually sits vertical. It doesn't fall over, lay over to the side. So that helps with going through the grass or whatever you're fishing through. But why don't you go ahead and talk about why you like that bait? Oh, and again, we're going dollar bin specials all the way up to $22, $23. So some of these baits aren't gonna be for everybody. We get it. I remember what it was like being
absolutely.
So
you have 3 kids. You still remember what it's like. It's right. It's hard to afford some of this stuff. And again, we're not trying to get you to dive all in. Tactical is all about simplification, not taking all your money. But this is one of those unique categories where you can go either direction. And for those guys that want to go there, we want you to know how to go there without, if you want to spend $200 or $300 instead of $5,000, we're here to help you.
Yeah, it's all for our viewers. We get requests all the time, but our viewers are everybody from, 9-year-old kids all the way up to Elite Series pros.
Right.
So we have to
everybody.
We have to talk about everything. So pick the bait. Go to the links, do some research, and don't break the bank, because literally you could go out and buy the cheapest bait, cheapest rod, cheapest line, go out, have fun, and catch fish. But if you're more in depth and you want to learn the baits, the different sounds, the techniques, we have videos for everybody, and that's why we cover so much of the broad spectrum.
And you can read between the lines, right? We're like sitting here trying to almost defend why we're talking about so many different baits. Obviously, there's a reason that even though we're uncomfortable telling you about this many baits, we're doing it. You can read between the lines. This is one of those categories where you can catch the biggest fish of your life, and then you can catch her again, and then catch her again. Lipless cranks, something we've touched on in the big long seminar videos, is that concept of getting that reaction, triggering fish. Because big bass are smart. Once they've been stuck a time or two, and we'll come right back to this bait, but But big bass are smart. Once they've been stuck, they learn quick, and they will stop eating. And if you're on a fishery where they've been stuck, and they've been stuck, and they've been stuck, they are done making mistakes. But there are a handful of baits on the market that are capable of triggering core responses from a fish, whether they are intelligent or not. That goes out the window. It is a response. It's a behavioral response, and the lipless is one of them. And that's what we're trying to get across, is that it's a unique category. It doesn't have to be. You can run down the bank and you can catch fish, but you can make this a unique thing that will change your game. So this bait, just to wrap it up, the Evergreen was another one that I picked up, I don't know,
A couple years ago.
A couple years ago. I like scroll Tackle Warehouse like twice a day, every day, like I'm a freaking junkie. And it just popped up in their new baits. Like, oh, I don't own that one. Better buy that in 8 colors. So I picked this bait up just because it was different, you know, and we're fishing a place where every boat in the world has got 3 lipless tied on, 10 lipless tied on. So anytime there's something different, if you're out here every day, if it's your living, it's worth investing some money and trying each thing that comes out. And when I got this bait, the first couple of casts, I didn't know if I liked it or not because it was slow on the start to the rattle. Some baits, like an LV500, the second you move it, it rattles. That Ruckus, that River to Sea, is like the opposite end of the spectrum. I really got to pull it before I feel like it's doing what it's supposed to do. This guy was kind of in between, but I did see it fall and just land nose down on bottom. And I mean, that sucker just sat there. And that's unique. There's not very many baits that'll do that. And it had a good sound to it. It had good colors. And on the first day, it started getting them. And it got them good. The first day with it, I mean, I really caught them. And then I caught them really good a second time. And I called Tim when I got off the water and was like, hey man, order some of these. Tell me what you think. Because it's very rare, you know, because we have tried so many baits, it's rare to have one just come and stand out from the crowd anymore. We feel like we've kind of got it dialed for the most part. For our fisheries, we've got it dialed at least. We know what we want to throw when we want to throw it. So when another bait comes in and you're like, oh man, what is that one? I need to try that. So this was just another one of those that just, like the LV, it caught me off guard. It stood out. It was different. The fish responded much better than I anticipated. It's another winner. But again, if you're gonna go run down the bank, I'm not kidding. Dirt cheap. We will give you a link to these. It's the baddest all around lipless, just the fish catching lipless there is the cheapest one out of the whole bunch. We've got so many good fish on these things. But again, this video description, it's gonna take us longer to get this description done, linking you guys to all these different things, the hooks, to baits. We didn't even go into rods, reels, all that stuff. And you know that we're very picky about them. That's gonna be down there too. We are picky about them. This is one of those categories where you can do everything right. You can invest all the money, get everything dialed, pick up the wrong rod and jump off a 12-pounder. And you don't wanna do that. So we'll link you the proper gear, and you can go as far down this as you wanna go. You know, down in the video description, we wanna know what you guys think about this, because this isn't an easy video to do. If you guys don't want to know this stuff, we're not going to do more of these.
Yeah, we're kind of rambling, so we don't know really how much to talk about because it is such an in-depth.
It's a monster. It's like 10 videos category. In one.
Yeah. Any of your questions, if you guys have questions down below in the video description, hit us up with the questions, and we'll do our best to get to those. Yeah, if I could recommend, you shore fishermen, you beginner lipless fishermen. I know he talked about the cotton,
the Cordell spot.
The cotton Cordell. The Strike King red eye shad. It comes in like 60 something different colors. It comes in all 3 sounds: silent, rattle, 2-tap. So if you guys want to start with expanding and playing around with dialing your fish in, you know, do they want a silent bait? Do they want a rattle bait? That would probably be the best one to start out with.
Yeah, and you're not breaking the bank there either.
And they're fairly inexpensive in this category.
Yeah. All right, guys. I hope we didn't just bury you completely in crazy information, but hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We are bringing you guys unique stuff. We're going to continue to do it. Share the channel with your friends. We appreciate your support. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one, guys.